Trump's 2025 economic policies. What small business owners need to know. And as we all know that small business really is the heartbeat of America. We know that many small businesses employ a considerable number of Americans. So let's try to dive a little bit deeper into what small businesses can learn from the Trump 2025 economic policies. So, what are Trump's 2025 economic priorities? Uh, if I can throw this out there in the idea that there is an American first platform, right? So, we know that that whole platform is based on some very key principles. One, domestic job growth, as in, this is a priority for the president. Tax relief to small businesses, energy independence, once again, benefiting small businesses. Beyond that, deregulation of federal bureaucracy, and unfortunately, this oftentimes mucks up the gears of small businesses, so we know that also is on the table. Trade renegotiations, once again, it's going to impact small business, so this is another benefit. Let's check out a couple excerpts from Trump's public remarks so we have a better idea of what we're talking about here with Trump's America First policy.
Most important for small business? I mean, Congressman, you're on the committee, and small business owners are optimistic about Trump's plans to cut regulations, certainly, and cut taxes. But there are also critics warning about the impact of the deportation plans and Trump's tariffs plans. So give us your expectations in terms of small business and the impacts from the incoming administration.
Well, small business in Main Street America are excited. I can tell you, as a small business owner myself, it's like we've had a great opportunity that's going to come before us, because if you cut regulations and you cut taxes and you create competition with each other rather than the federal government, and you even have the ability to create inventory so consumers can create discounts with who they buy things from, this turns an economy around immediately. And so I'm excited about it, and there's going to be ways to cut and give back to the private sector. The more we can do for the private sector and take away from the federal government, the better off we are.
So the next big question, and it's always hammering small businesses, is how will tax policy really affect small business owners? So Trump has promised to extend or expand tax cuts. That's key. And if you dial things back to 2017, we know that Trump enacted a ton of tax cuts that were good for small businesses. And of course, the Jobs Act. Those things are up on the table all over again. And the expectation is the Republican House and the Republican Senate will support the president. And if you're a smart Democrat, you'll probably do the same, because the last thing you want to do is be seen as someone who is really against growth at this moment in time. So there's a really important thing here that we want to keep in mind here too, because there's a pass-through entity, LLCs, sole proprietors, etc., that these tax cuts are going to be good for you, and they affect everybody, and they even affect me. Secondly, there's a number of proposals that involve reduced corporate tax rates and expand deductions for small businesses. So, we're going to take a quick look at some of the IRS references on financial analysts, specifically Section 199A deduction. So, this is really kind of important because some of these tax cuts uh, are going to be either allowed to expire or they're going to become permanent. And I'm pretty certain the president is pushing for these to be made permanent. So if you're a small business owner, obviously that's something that's really going to have a positive impact on you. And what's really going on here is there's a lower taxable income for small businesses. And I've enjoyed that, and I know that you will as well. So the third part is like what deregulation policies could be coming that you could really get excited about. So Trump has long pledged a 2-for-1 rule, eliminating 2 regulations for every new one that's added. So once again, this sounds very much like cutting a lot of that red tape out of the field of small businesses, right? So sectors likely affected will include energy, construction, healthcare, and agriculture, just to name a few, all of which touch small business supply chains or costs. Uh, some credibility things to take into consideration. So let's go ahead and check out Executive Order 13771 from 2017. Will give us a little bit more insight as to what the president's on about. And of course, remember, some of these regulations were rolled back during Trump's first term, and these industries we know were impacted very much by this move. So why do these things matter? Well, there's a relevance, right? And for the relevance for small businesses, these could reduce compliance costs, which is really a wonderful thing. And secondly, may also increase legal insurance risks depending on your industry. So that could conceivably be a downside. But once again, this is a quickly changing environment. So keep following the channel because we're going to be sure to follow up on this. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next part of this. So one of the big questions that every small business has is um, what about access to capital and lending? And so, Trump's 2025 strategy may focus on loosening restrictions on banks and lenders, right? Reversing the Dodd Frank era tightening, which I think once again is going to grease the wheels of business and speed up everything that's trying to help small businesses grow, not inhibit them from growing. Uh, Another thing to consider is there's going to be more support for community banks and SBA backed lending programs. That is, if there's any federal employees left working there, right? But something he did promote very much so in rural communities on his campaign stops all along. So I'm going to assume this is going to be on the table here for small business people. Credibility notes, just a couple things here as well, that there is SBA data from financial industry associations that are going to support this. Uh, and I don't have that in this cast, but I'm just telling you that it's out there if you want to do a little bit more digging on your own. Uh, Another thing here is the overall interest rates, right? There's a sensitivity and inflation impact on small businesses and borrowing. So once again, the president says America is open for business. So the last thing he's going to do is do anything that's going to inhibit your growth as a small business person. Just remember, it does matter because small businesses do need easier access to loans that can help small businesses scale, particularly with the amazing amount of opportunities that are going to be coming available with the tariffs and what's going to bring a lot of small business startups, the energy, the drill baby drill policies, and even opportunities within inside the healthcare industries. Just remember, looser banking regulations may lead to some credit risks here, so it's just worth noting carefully and put these things on your radar screen. So the next question becomes how will trade and tariffs affect small businesses and supply chains? It really is a critically important question to all of our small business people. So Trump has signaled intent to reimpose or expand the tariffs.
Incoming Trump administration. Joining us now is Mark Valentino, Citizens President and Head of Business Banking. Mark, it is great to see you. So, listen, small business owners, Mark, you talk to a lot of them. I'm curious generally, Mark, when you do speak to them, how they're feeling right now. Is it positive? Is it optimistic? What's the mood like now, Mark, versus, let's say, 6 months ago, 12 months ago?
Yeah, thanks, Josh. Thanks for having me here today, and happy holidays to everybody out there. I would say the mood is actually quite positive entering 2025. If you look back over the last 12 to 18 months, small businesses have been under tremendous pressure, whether it's high interest rates, high inflation, labor markets that were frozen coming out of COVID. And I think there's a lot of optimism entering 2025 with rates having come down, inflation cooling off a little bit entering the year. And so I think overall, small business owners are really optimistic. And I would say even optimistic about the change of administration. although there's a lot of uncertainties there that are certainly presented as well.
I think that's pretty obvious by so much of the rhetoric over the past month and a half or so. He's particularly hitting three countries: China, Mexico, Canada for certain, but there's even more rhetoric out there about digging into the EU nations a little bit. And if you think about how some of these nations have behaved themselves, when it comes to tax rates, you'll notice that some places, like Ireland, for instance, has become a safe haven for many American businesses. Now, these are bigger businesses where you've been able to set up uh, tax havens and avoid U.S. taxes. Uh, just understand that the bottom line is this would be really good to have these tariffs because it could very much affect goods based small businesses, retailers, manufacturers, resellers by increasing costs on imported goods and components. So just keep these things in mind.